Hi guys. So today I'll talk about AWS certifications. Before we get into the topic, I just wanted to give some context about why I work and what it's all about. So I work for PA Consulting. It's a consultancy of over 3,500 people. 200 of these consultants probably would associate themselves with digital engineering and the DevOps community. As a firm, we work across all sectors from retail, transport, logistics. Personally, I work more in financial services and the government sectors, so with large banks and a bit with government organizations. As a community, we've split ourselves between 3 areas. One is strategy, so it's typically small engagements where we go in, we review the capabilities of a client, and then we make opinionated recommendations. I really like this type of engagements because we can make a really quick impact. The second stream is transformation. Mostly we work alongside our agile colleagues, working on large agile transformations for large clients. And the third one is probably the more classic one, which is delivery, where we stand up teams to deliver digital products. So we either do that on our own or we augment teams from the client depending on the requirement from the client. So the challenge we've got is that we need to hire 50 people in the coming year. And when we look at these 50 people, the profile that we're looking for, we want people who are client-facing. And by that, we mean people who can talk to clients at all the different levels, so whether they are developers or whether they're executives of large companies. And we want people who are technically credible. So a lot of things that we hear from the client is they want people who are hands-on. One word that comes up a lot is battle-scarred. It sounds terrifying. And they don't want people who are good at just doing PowerPoints. At the same time, because we're consultants, we're fairly expensive, and the client want people who are worth their money, so they want people who are strategic and who show leadership. So overall, one of our main challenges is finding these people and recruiting them at that pace. So in that context, one thing we wondered was, can the AWS certifications help us solve these challenges? And 4 main questions, really. Can it help us at the stage of screening CVs? So do we see people with these certifications faring better? And can we help them? Can we identify them right from the moment of screening their CVs? Can it help us identify technical talent during the interviews? Can it help us, and I think that's one of the most interesting one, identify the desired attitude? So not so much the technical skills, but the attitude of the person. And 4th one is less about the candidate getting into the company, but more about the person staying in the company and being happy within the company, which is about attracting and retaining the right talent. So when we set these 4 challenges, if you look at the screening the CV, in our case, it doesn't really help us. We're lucky enough to have recruiters who are experienced and who have been digital recruiters for a number of years. So they've got other metrics to judge whether the CV is interesting to progress to an interview or not. And it turns out that the AWS certification, they might use it a bit, but it's not a massive differentiator. In terms of identifying the technical talent, I think it depends. So I don't know if you know, there's different levels of AWS certifications. The initial level is associate, and that's probably 70% of the people we see having an AWS certifications coming to us with, and then the professional level, which is above the associate. So you can only go for the professional one if you got the associate level. And in that case, people with a professional certification, it does help during the technical interview. If anything, it helps us skip some of the questions, so we can be certain that someone with this kind of skills will already have covered, and we can focus on more interesting technical questions. As I was saying before, the most interesting one is the attitude element. One thing we found out is that people who come to the interviews with either already the certification or bring that up during the interview process, that they would be keen to be certified, generally, that turns out to be people who are interested in their own learning, in their own progression, and making it robust, not just looking at blogs. So that, to us, I think that's one of the key metrics. Anyone who mentioned that during the interview process, we found out that's better after. And the last point is the attraction and the retention of talent, and that definitely that helps. So what we've done over the last few months is put a more formal program to help people get certified. And in turn, that also helps us attract the right candidates, because then we can talk about that program during the interview process. So what we do to support people, and what is that kind of micro program of helping people get certified? What we initially did was just give people access to a self-learning platform, which is a Cloud Guru. So we identified a few different ones, and a Cloud Guru is the one that we chose. And the feedback is that it's really good for the associate level. So people think, yeah, if I just want to get the associate level, this platform really helps me. But as we said before, the associate is kind of the big part of people who are certified. Where we see more interest from clients and from individuals in general is at the professional level. And this platform, they help to an extent, but the associate level is a lot about, do you know what the AWS platform, do you know how it works? It's about knowing the bolts of the platform, whereas the professional level is more about the experience and having seen different situations. So what we've done on top of giving people access to this self-learning tool is also try and prioritize people on engagements where they've got an opportunity to learn. So whenever someone says, oh, I'd like to go for this professional certification of AWS, we try and match that person to a project where they will have this ability to learn. And this project, typically, they feature hybrid cloud because that's heavily present in the exam, and migrations of data or systems from an on-prem system to AWS. What we also do is that we've set up a buddy support where someone who is already certified is matched with someone who is not yet certified and can answer his questions. One of the things we find really frustrating is that there's actually very little to evaluate yourself up until the exam. So the way AWS does it is that you can go online and take a mock exam, and it will give you an answer of whether you would have passed or not. It doesn't give you exactly for each of the questions you failed that one or you passed that one. It gives you a breakdown by area. It doesn't give you the exam question by exam question, this one you failed, this one you passed. So the buddy support is kind of trying to fill that gap by having someone where you can ask specific questions, potentially sitting together during a mock exam and the person walking you through what they would have answered. And we also have a group support within the whole community of people who are associated with the cloud. The last point is that that's a plan we started only a few months ago. That's still really early stages. And it's constantly improving. It's constantly changing. So if there's other companies that do something similar, it would be really interesting to hear from them. That's a quick key session, so I'm closing now. I think if there's anything to remember is that it's really good to do not so much for the resume, because from our point of view anyway, when people come in with these certifications on their resume, it's not so much the certification in itself, it's more giving us an insight about the person themselves. So if you do it for yourself, don't do it for your resume. Again, as I mentioned before, do the professional one, don't just do the associate. The associate, we see a lot of people having it, and to us it hasn't translated in any change in terms of the career of the person. The professional one does. Also, the professional one is used by AWS to have different level of partnership. So some companies who want a higher level of partnership will put a premium on having people who are professional certified. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of platforms where you can learn by yourself. We've chosen a cloud guru, and it really helps. It really helps for the associate level. It helps you bridge the gap in terms of the features that you might not have used, the features that you don't know so much about. For the professional levels, though, the sad news is that the best way to get it is to be hands-on, because in the associate level, the questions are about knowing certain features of AWS. In the professional one, it's all about being presented with real case scenarios and choosing which one you would recommend to a client. So really, the only way is to have been in these situations before and then be able to choose the right option. Thanks a lot.